Hello everyone. I'm going to prepare few lectures on the course of operating system lab. The lab is required, or you can say very much important subject from placement point of view. It requires good understanding of operating system concepts, and it also requires the good hands-on practice in C programming, or let's say C++ programming. So primarily this lab is based on the C programming and shell programming. I'll cover the all experiment which is mentioned in your lab manual one by one. And I believe this lecture series will help you to understand this particular course easily, and this will also help you to get good marks in your final exams. So let's start. In this lecture series, I am going to cover the 8 experiments. Those are mentioned in your manual. So the very first experiment is Introduction to Linux Commands. And today I am going to discuss the Linux commands only. Later on, we'll be discussing shell programming, file manipulation using system calls, directory manipulation using system calls, process management, creation of multi-threaded processes using pthread library. Then we will be learning how to synchronize different processes using semaphores and mutex. And then inter-process communication also we will discuss. So let's begin the today's topic. That is inter-process communication. That is Introduction to Linux Commands. Now, before jumping onto the actual experiment, let's try to understand few important terms in this. So the terms like algorithm is one of the thing which we do understand, and some similar kind of word is also available like program. So what is an algorithm and what is a program? The definition is already written there. Algorithm, you know that algorithms are independent of any programming language, but programs are dependent on programming language. In algorithm, we say that it is a sequence of steps written to solve a problem. So in case you want to prepare, let's say, coffee or tea or any other thing, a sequence of steps can be written. If you follow those steps, your coffee or tea will be ready, right? But instructions are different. Instructions are, you can say, it is machine dependent or language dependent. So there is a clear cut difference between the step and the instruction, right? So if I say for making a tea, let's say you need water. So I say take water. And if you are a robot, then you may not be very clear about how to take water, right? So if I want to give you instruction, I will give you very proper instructions. So take a vessel, open the tap, then fill the water, right? So instructions are very clear and it is dependent on the machine. But steps in general we can write. I hope this will help you to understand the difference between algorithm and program. Now, what is a command actually? Command is also a program only, but it is stored inside a machine in such a format so that directly we can execute it. So here the definition is saying it is an instruction, or I have written like it can be an abbreviated name or abbreviation associated to a number of instructions. And you get to know that when we deal with the commands, when you run one command, let's say ls or cd or mkdir or any other command, it is just one term, but in backend there has to be a number of instructions need to be executed by the computer, right? So a command is a, you can say it is a program only. There are a number of instructions, okay, and commands are available inside your computer only. So in this course we will be discussing the shell command. We will be working on bash, and then later on we will be dealing with the C programs. Now, along with the commands, you also need to understand there are two things associated with commands. One is option, another is argument. So when you write the command on prompt, or you can say the terminal, there are two types of prompts. Generally you have dollar prompt or hash prompt. So when you open any of the Linux flavor, which I have reflected here, in this lab you can work on any of the Linux flavor. Maybe you can work on Red Hat or Ubuntu or CentOS or Fedora or OpenSUSE or any other. All the commands and system calls and C program will work fine with any of these flavors. So in your lab, whatever is installed, do not worry, you can complete this experiment on that. Okay, so what is argument and option? There are two prompts. I'm saying these are prompts. Dollar prompt and hash prompt. Dollar prompt, actually it is a normal user prompt, so I write in bracket, it is user prompt, normal user prompt, and this is root prompt or admin prompt. So wherever you are typing the command, if there is what last character on that string is dollar, that means you are working as a normal user. If that symbol is hash, then you are acting as a root user. So when we type the commands, command is the sequence of, you can say, strings only. It is a string only. So what is an argument? As I have written here, a command is split into an array of strings named arguments. So let's say if you are writing a command and you are writing on your dollar prompt ls, and you want to run this ls on a file or maybe multiple files. So I'm writing file1.txt, or after giving a space, file2.txt, or maybe file3.txt. So this you are writing maybe on dollar prompt or hash prompt, and this is a command. So ls, and this complete is a command which you are passing. So in this command, it is a sequence of strings stored in an array. So how this array will be, like, you consider it is splitted. Wherever the space or tab will come, it will consider next string, and it is maintained like this. So this command, like, this is the very first in the command, everything we consider as an argument. So this is the very first argument, this will be the next argument, and the next argument, right? Everything on the command prompt considered as an argument, right? Now what are the options then? Options, as I have mentioned here, it is the documented argument. So let's say in ls, when we run ls, we can set a number of arguments. Like we can set a argument. A argument will display you all possible files. It will also help you to see the hidden files in your system. You can display all the details or long listing with the L option in L. So when we put hyphen and put an option which is valid, which is mentioned in the manual of that particular command, and which is documented as, so I have written here the documented type of argument. Documented means it is documented in manual. So that is considered as an option. So if I write a command like on dollar prompt, if I write ls hyphen l, and if I write file1.txt, file1.txt, everything is an argument here. This is also an argument. This is also an argument. But this argument is documented argument. It is start with hyphen, and this is considered as option. So options we use to modify the default behavior of a command, right? So now let's jump onto the actual screen and try to finish the first experiment of your lab. Okay, so when you install any of the Linux flavor, I'm using here Red Hat. You can use any, as I have already told you. You will get this kind of a screen where you can log in. So in this system, there is a user named as student is created. So you need to type the password of your user and then you can log in to your system. Now once you log in your system, you need to open the terminal. So terminal you can search or you can go with whatever the logo. If you are using OpenSUSE or Fedora or anything, you get that logo of that particular flavor and you click on that and you can search the terminal. Otherwise directly also you will get a logo of terminal, so you can click on that and you open the terminal. So now we are working on the terminal. This is actually the bash where we are working. This is bash terminal. So let me increase the font so that you can understand it easily. Now let me type the command here. So any of the command, let's say in your lab manual, I have mentioned the very first command is ls. So if you are not aware about the ls, better to open the manual of ls. And if you are also not aware about the man command, then you can open the man of man. So when I'm typing man space man, that means I want to open the manual of man command. Okay. So when you open this, such kind of the data will be visible on your screen. And here after the command for which you were searching the manual, a number will display there. And this is the manual section. So that means this man command is defined in manual section 1. So please do remember this number represent the manual section number. And what are the total number of manual sections available? If you scroll it down, in my machine there are 9 manual sections are available. Okay. So these sections are depends on different things. So the very first manual section is about the executable programs or shell command. So as I told you, commands are not very different thing. These are commands only. So as it is written, these are executable programs. So commands are executable programs. We also call them shell command, right? Second manual section is for system calls. So when we start programming, coding, or when we do the third experiment of your lab, then we start working or reading the definitions from manual section 2. And if you want to check the manual section of any library calls, library function like printf, scanf or any other, you need to check the definition in manual section 3. So how you can use this? Quickly see this. So let's say if you want to check the definition of printf, and printf is a library function, so you can type man space the manual section, let's say 3, and you can check the definition of printf and you open this. So now this is the manual about printf, and it is guiding you that if you want to use printf, you need to include this header file, right? So manual is a great help for a developer, and it is also guiding you how you can use printf. So you write printf returns an integer value, and printf you can pass a number of other things. Later on I will elaborate to you, so I don't want to go right now in the detail. Once you open that manual, you want to come back from the manual, you need to press Q. So once you press Q, Q for quitting, so it will give you your prompt back. And right now you are working on dollar prompt. This dollar is displaying, so that means normal user I am working. Okay. If I want to take admin privileges, then I need to use su command. So I want to switch user, and if I want to switch to root, then I can press enter, and then when I give the root password, and if my password is correct, my dollar prompt will be changed to hash prompt. So now I'm working as root. Okay. So when you start and working on your machine, you need to be aware about whether you are working as user or root. If you want to exit from any of the user, then you can type exit command. Now come back to your lab exercise. So the very first command which is mentioned in your lab exercise, that is ls. So let's check the manual of ls. Man ls. ls when you open the manual of any command, it displays one line description of that command, and it is list directory contains. So the prime function of the ls is it lists the directory content. There are files and directories. Directories contains the record about other files and directories, right? File contains the data. So what is a file? File stores data in terms of bits or bytes. Okay. So there are different categories of files in Linux. I'll elaborate you later. So first we cover the content of this particular lab. Later on I will cover some extra content also. So the ls you can use to list out the content, and if you scroll it down the manual, it will give you a number of other options. So you can pass -a option. If you pass -a, it is saying do not ignore entries starting with dot. And if a file in Linux, when you give the name dot, let's say ABC, if a file name is starting with dot, the environment treat that file as hidden file. Okay. So that means if you are setting A, you are intended to see all the files including header files. Right. So there are other options also. Let me come back. So if I run ls, I need to be aware about right now in which directory I am working. So for checking that, first run the command pwd. So this is present working directory, and my present working directory is named as student, and student directory is created inside home directory, and home is created inside root. So the hierarchy root directory, home directory, and student directory. Inside student directory I am. So if I run ls, it will display the content of student directory, right? And student directories are having desktop, downloads, pictures, templates, documents, music, public, and videos. Right? If I want to list out the detail of this, I can set -l option. L option will give me the long listing of these things. So it is listing out different thing. It is listing the very first thing is the permissions. Those are set. Later on we will see. Then it display how many links are there on that particular directory, how many links, who is the owner, who is the group owner, and the creation date and time. And this is the name of that particular directory or file. So if this is a directory, the first character in ls-l will be D. Okay. So by using ls-l, we can identify the type of file. So the very first character is D. That means this desktop is a directory. Okay. Let me create a file. So for creation of the file, there is a touch command given in your manual. So if I use touch and file1, okay, you can give an extension or you cannot give an extension. Linux allows both kind of files. So if you want to give an extension, you can give txt like you are creating a text file. So I created it. If I again run ls-l and if I check it, this file 1.txt is here. Creation time and everything you can check of today's, and the very first character is hyphen or minus sign. So because this is a normal file, this is not the directory. That's why this first character is not D. Okay, so ls-l will help you to identify the type of file. There are different types of files. Okay, now let's go move on to the next command. So let's say if I run ls-a or -a, that means I want to display all the possible files, maybe hidden or visible files. So when I see the content of this output, you can check there is a dot, there is double dot, there is dot bash rc file, dot cache file, dot config file, dot ansible file, dot bash history. In your computer, it depends upon the flavor. There may be another hidden file, so you need not to bother for that. But the important thing is, if you type only ls, these hidden files, those are starting with dot, will not be visible. Okay. So this is very important option, -a. Now, if you want to create a hidden file, you can create. So I have already created file1.txt. Fine. Now if I create with touch command, if I create file, so let's say dot file 2.txt. Now I'm creating file 2.txt, but the name I am starting with dot. So if I check ls, it will not display me the file 2.txt. If I want to check it, I can pass hyphen a and now I can see that this is dot file 2.txt. So I hope with this you are clear what is the role of a option. A is an option, right? So ls can show you different things. You can specify a specific directory in ls. So let's say if you want to create a directory, you can use mkdir. So make directory is one of the command mkdir, and I'm creating here dir1. So dir1 is the directory name I am specifying, and mkdir is the command. If you are not familiar with mkdir, you can check man space mkdir, and you can check the options available and the behavior of mkdir. So once you hit enter, if you check ls, dir1 has been created. So this is dir1. Okay. And if you long list this contained dir1, the very first character is d. That means dir1 is a directory. Okay. And file1 is a normal file. So this is the first character is hyphen, as I already told you. So now you are aware about how to create a directory and how to create a file using touch. Okay. We are creating a directory using mkdir. Now once you have created a directory, still your present working directory, you are in student. If you want to go inside dir1, you need to use cd command, change directory. Cd means change directory. If you want to check the manual of cd, you can check. So this is not the exact manual actually for that cd. Okay. So cd is for change directory. Cd is inbuilt command actually. I'll tell you, or you can say internal commands. So use cd, and I have created dir1. So I want to move inside dir1. Now if I check my present working directory, it is home, student and dir1. Now I am working inside dir1. So in case now I create any file, let's say file 1, file 2 and so on. Now those files will be created inside dir1. Earlier I was creating files inside student directory. I hope you are getting all this, right? So this is the role of cd. Cd is change directory. Cd command we are using to change directory. So earlier we were in student directory, now we are in dir1. Now if you want to come back, you have two choices. You can use cd and you can give the whole path of your, let's say, student directory you want to move in. So if you type in, you can go inside the student directory. But in case you want to go to the parent directory, which directory is the parent directory for dir1? Student directory. So if you want to go to the parent directory, you need not to give the complete path. You just need to type double dot cd space dot dot cd space dot dot represent the parent directory of your present working directory. So if you type cd space dot dot, that means you are typing the same thing. So once you run it, if you check the present working directory, you will be in a student. Earlier you were in dir1 student, and then no. This double dot means parent directory of dir1 and parent directory was a student. So now you are in a student. Okay. So now you are aware about how you can change one directory to another and how you can come back to your parent. If you want to go somewhere else, let's say you don't want to go into the parent directory, then you need to give the path of that, right? Now after cd command, pwd I have already discussed. If you want to create a file, but that file you don't want to create empty file, you want to write some content. So touch command, if you check the manual of touch we use for two different purpose. Touch can update the timestamp of on a file, and touch generally create the empty directory. So the description is reflecting here, change file timestamps. There are few timestamps related to the file, like the creation time, modification time, access time. So whenever we access a file, the timestamp are getting updated. It helps us to analyze the system, right? Who is changing which thing at what particular time. So there are different things. Okay. So like access time is one of the thing. Whenever we read a file, access time gets modified. Okay. There are modification time and other time also. So generally we use touch to change the timestamp. But in case, let's say you are writing touch and you are writing, let's say a file which is already created. If a file is already created, let's say file1.txt is already created. If you run touch file1.txt, now this time new file1.txt will not be created. It will only update the timestamp. It will only update the access time, or you can say last access time of the file1, right? So please do remember, if you use touch command and you write a name of any file which is not existing in the system, touch will create that file. And if file is already existing, touch will update the timestamp. Okay. But anyhow, touch is going to create the empty file. So you need a better command which will help you to create the file as well as you can write something. So that is cat command. Cat command we use generally for 2-3 purposes. The prime purpose we use to create a file or to view the file content. We can also use cat command to write some content inside the file. So if you want to write the content inside the already created file, that was file 1.txt, it is empty. So if you check the, let's say, let me check the size of that file. So I'm running ls-l on file1.txt. It will show me this 0 is reflecting the size of the file, this 0. So this file1.txt doesn't have any content, no data is there. The file size is 0. Okay. Now if I want to write, so I can use cat, and for writing something I need to use greater than sign. Greater than sign, actually it is the redirection. There are two types of redirection in the Linux: input redirection and output redirection. Okay. So this, once you put greater than sign, it will change your default output. It is output redirection, and whatever the file name you write here, it will start recording in that. Okay. So if you're not getting, let me tell you, if you run only cat, if you don't write anything else, the cat is having the default behavior. It read the input from keyboard and displays the output on screen. So if I say hello, it will say hello only. Whatever you write here, hi, it will print the hi on the screen. So it is reading from keyboard and writing on the screen. That is the default behavior. But I don't want to do that. I want to come out, so I press Ctrl+Z and the command has been stopped. Now I'm using cat. I want to take input from keyboard, so I am not redirecting my default input, that is keyboard. But I don't want to print the content which I am typing on the keyboard. I don't want to print on the screen. I want to record inside a file named as file1.txt. That means I am redirecting the output. Okay, so that job can be done by putting the greater than sign, and you write the file1.txt. Now once you hit enter, it will hold your cursor. Okay, you will not get the prompt back where you can type the command. So now you can write your content. Hello everyone, hope you are learning well. Okay, better understanding of OS, or you can say OS lab. Okay, so this, whatever the content I am going to prepare, it will help you to get better understanding of operating system lab. Now I want to save now. So whatever I want to type, I have typed. Now I want to save it. So I need to press Ctrl+D Control plus D. So I'm pressing Control plus D. Now once I press, you will get prompt back. So now I'm having my dollar prompt again. Now if I check the file size again by typing ls-l file1.txt. One important thing, this is a bash prompt, so this shell considered as bash, and shell is a command line interpreter, right? So one important feature of bash is bash, the full form is born again shell. So born again shell has one of the feature to maintain the history. So this command ls-l file1.txt I have typed earlier. So I just type my upper arrow key, and I can go back to my previously typed command. So I need not to retype a command again and again in bash. Okay, so if I hit enter, now it is displaying the size of file has been changed. It is saying 14 byte. So if you want to show the content, with display the content of your file 1.txt, you can check, and if you count this all, you will find out, no, this is not, this is date actually, I mistakenly, it is 126 characters, 126 byte, not 14 byte. 126 is the size of the file in terms of bytes. So if you count whatever I have typed, it must be 126 characters, right? So now you are aware about how to create a file using cat by putting greater than sign. So you write cat greater than sign file name. You hit enter, type the content, whatever you want to type. You can press enter or new line or anything. Once your typing is over, you want to save the content, you press Control plus D. Once you press Control plus D, your control will be your content will be saved. And you come back to the prompt. If you want to see it, you type simply cat space file name. So if you want to display the content on the screen, you don't want to update the file content, then you use cat space file name and you hit enter. So once you hit enter, the file content will be visible. So like I have, if I type cat space file name, it will display, right? So if I create another file like cat, I want to create file 2.txt, and if I'm creating new file, I need to give greater than sign, and I'm writing this is file 2, let's say anything you can write, and now I'm pressing Control D, my file is saved. If I want to check the content of my file 2, it will display me the file content. Okay, so I hope now you are aware about how to create the file using cat command, how to write some content inside the file using cat command, and how to display the content using cat command, right? So you are aware about. Now if you want to update the content, so let's say I want to update the content of this file 2. So I write file 2.txt, enter. Now if I write this is the update, or I write something else, so I write totally different, I am a student, let's say I'm writing student. Now I'm pressing Control plus D and I'm saving the content. Now let me check the file content of file 2, which I have recently updated. Previously I have written this is file 2, and now I have updated I am a student, previous content has been overwritten. Okay, so if I write very less thing, let's say if I again do the same thing, I want to update file 2 and I write here, let's say 10, 20 or 30, only this much I am writing, and I am pressing Control D. Okay, so once I press Control D, I'll get the prompt back. Now I want to check the content of file 2. Everything has gone. The previously written line I am a student, I am a student is not there. There is only 10, 20, 30 is stored. So there's a problem. If you put greater than sign, it is going to override the file content. Now if you don't want to override, if you want to append it, rather than putting single greater than sign, you need to put double greater than sign. So you can write like cat double greater than sign, and let's say I update the file content of, let's say, file 2, again. Now this is a newly added line in file 2, right? Now I'm pressing Ctrl D. If you check the file content again like this, the previous content was 10, 20, 30, and after that whatever I have written, it is there. So now you are aware about how to append the file content in a file with the help of cat command by using output redirection, double output redirection character, you can say. So double greater than sign you can put, and you can append the content inside a file, right? So you are aware about the file creation using touch create empty file. You are also aware about now creation of file using cat, how to update a file using cat, how to display the content using cat, how to append the content using cat. Okay, you are also aware about how to create a directory using mkdir. Now let's move on. There is another command mentioned, that is cp and mb. So cp command we used to copy something. So if you want to check the manual of cp, you can check copy files and directories. So it can copy files as well as directories also. Now what is the meaning of copy? So let's say uh, let me check the present working directory. So I am in student, okay, and in student I list out there is file 1 and file 2, okay, and if I want to list out the content of my dir1 that is there in this, so dir1 does not contain anything, okay, dir1 doesn't contain anything. So right now dir1 is not containing anything. If I want to copy my file 1.txt in dir1, okay, so what I'm writing is cp is the command for copying. Then I'm mentioning which file I want to copy, and after that I'm mentioning the destination directory, final destination directory where I want to copy that file. So once I hit enter, and if I again check the content of dir1, now file1.txt is there. Earlier it was not there. Now because it is the copy of file1.txt which is available in student directory, it will also have the same content. So if I want to check the content of file1.txt which is inside the student, it is having this content, hello everyone and all. And if I also check the file content inside dir1 directory which is copied as file1.txt, it will also have the same content because it is just the copy of that. Okay, so now you are aware about the use of cp command. Cp is copy. So how to copy a file or directory? Directory can also be copied, right? So if I create a directory, the same way you can copy. So you write cp directory name and the final directory name where you want to copy that. So one replica of that directory will be created, right? Now there's another command called move, mv. So what is mv? If you check the manual of mv, mv can use for two purposes. Manual clearly mentioned. It can use to move files or it can use to rename files. Okay. So how we can use it for move or rename? Check the current directory content. We are having file 1 and file 2. And file1.txt is also available in dir1 because we have copied there. Now what I want to use mv command, and let's say I want to move my file 2.txt inside my dir1. And you are aware about right now dir1 doesn't have any file 2. So let me show you the content. If I type ls dir1, it has only one file, file1.txt. Now I am going to run mv for moving a file, and I am moving file2.txt inside dir1 directory. Now what is the difference between copying and moving? Copying create a replica. When you use cp command, it creates a replica. But when you use mv command, move, it will not create the replica, it will move the same file to the destination, right? So when you do that, and now if you check ls, you will not find out file 2 here because file 2 has been moved from this particular student directory. Now if you check dir1 contained, you get file 2 there, right? So this is the role of mv command. Now if you ask how mv can rename, because there are two purposes manual is mentioned, it can use to move and it can use to rename. Now let's say I want to rename my file1.txt. So I use mv, I write file1.txt and I can give new name here. I do not mention any new directory. I do not mention any new directory, right? On same location, I can give new name. So I mention, let's say, any name. So let's say only file I am renaming. File1.txt I am renaming as file. Okay. Or I write renamed file. Okay. Renamed file. So this is the name. Any name you can give. Renamed file. Okay. There should not be any space between the file name. Okay. So I am renaming it. After successful execution of this command, my file1.txt will be renamed to renamed file. So I hitting enter, and when I type ls, there is no file1.txt, there is renamed file. Okay. So now you are aware about how you can use mv command to rename a file. Similarly, you can rename any directory also. Okay. So you give mv, then directory original name, and then the new name. It will be renamed. Now the next command which is mentioned in your manual in experiment 1, that is rm. Rm is a command which we use to remove a directory or file. So rm. Check the manual of rm. It says remove files or directories. It can remove files as well as directories. Remove means deletion. So when we want to delete anything, we use rm command. So let's check ls. Now let me create a renamed file copy. So I'm using cp because one I will be going to delete. So cp, then renamed, and then I use file. Okay. Now if I ls, there is renamed file and as well as file also. Now I use rm, and let's say I want to delete the renamed file. So I use renamed file and I hit enter. Now if you check ls, renamed file is not there. It is deleted. Right? Now let me create a number of other files. So let's say if I use touch and I'm creating some sample file. So let's say I create in a single go also, you can create file f1, f2, f3, f4. If I hit enter, all f1, f2, f3, f4 has been created, right? Now I start deleting the thing. So let's say I use rm. Okay. Now if I want my rm should ask me before deleting a file or directory, I should use -i option. So let's say if I want to delete f1 and I set rm space -i or -i space file name which I want to delete. Once I hit enter, it is asking rm remove regular empty file. It is saying it is a regular file but it is empty and the name is f1 and it is putting question mark. So if I press yes means Y, it will delete. If I press N means no, it will not delete. So I am pressing Y, and if I check ls, F1 is not there, F1 has been deleted. So this I option you can remember for interactive option. So you can check manual of RM and you scroll it down, you will find out I option. Okay. So this is saying I is the prompt before every removal. It will prompt you or ask you your consent. So if you press Y, it will delete. If you press N, it will not delete. Okay. So this is your first experiment, right? There is a comparative Windows command is also given so that you can study. In this course, primarily we are focusing on Linux. You can do the similar task in Windows, but there may be some different command I have mentioned in the manual. You can check it. Okay. So I don't want to make it more longer. Thank you everyone for connecting. So I'm just closing it. Thank you.